That is when I realized that getting into Google or Microsoft, etc., is not everything. Engineering is not about securing a job. We were told engineering is about solving the problems of the society. And
Not all of you might think in the same way. Some of you might just feel that the United States is good because it's on the other side of the world. We have this concept that, grass is always greener. But I request all of you to look at your personality and ask yourself which system works better for you. Are you the kind of person who wants to study on the last night before the exam and clear it? Then if that is the kind of person you are, this is not the place for you.
If there's a self-driving car and there has to be an accident, it's a forced accident, we cannot stop it, and there's a pregnant woman on one side and there's a small child on the other, which one is it that the self-driving car should hit at?
IIT, I would like to mention one thing, that not all IITians are doing great and not all the great people are IITians. So I know many of you would be aiming for IIT, but if you are aiming, give your 100%, but don't just lose to the results, because there are several factors that affect the result, and what you do later on is more important than the results or just getting into a college.
As Raghav had mentioned, I haven't been the person to study at the last minute ever, or do something in 18 seconds and do it right away. I've always been the person that values understanding and taking my time over doing something super fast or memorizing something really fast. So in that sense, I've always identified with the international education culture a bit more.
So I'm interested in the intersection of computer science and economics, and when I say computer science, I have nothing to do with coding. So I look at computer science from a mathematician's viewpoint, and it's entirely different from how computer engineers look at computer.
A very good morning and good evening to all of you from whichever country you're from right now. I welcome you all to this fourth expert talk organized by Raising a Mathematician Foundation. My name is Vinay Nair, and I'm one of the co-founders of Raising a Mathematician Foundation, or as we call it, RAM Foundation. So let me just take this quick opportunity to talk about RAM and about expert talks, and I'll introduce our moderator of this session, R. Hariharan. So Raising a Mathematician Foundation is a not-for-profit organization, and we work in the field of math education. And our work focuses on identifying students who are talented and passionate about mathematics and nurturing them over a period of time. We give students a platform for exploring and learning math in connection with various other domains, and not learning mathematics in silos as it is normally done in school. And we also help students identify their areas of mathematics, what they might be interested in, so that they can have a more meaningful pursuit of mathematics while they pursue their career options. We also do programs for students who are from the marginalized section of the society, and we try to spot diamonds in the rough. And there are other programs that happen. More details are there on our website, raisingamathematician.com. Coming to Expert Talks. Expert Talks is a monthly series of talks that we started this year, where we invite an expert from a particular domain who shares his or her experience in that domain, and basically tells the audience how it is to be an expert in that specific area. And he or she shares their journey, and students get an opportunity to interact with the expert and get a first-hand experience of how it is to be working in such and such field. We have had 3 expert talks so far. The first one was by a mathematician who spent his career as a computer scientist. The second one was by a physicist who is an entrepreneur, who spent his time both in academia as well as in the industry. Our third expert talk was by a statistician, and the fourth one we thought, being the Diwali season, let's give a bumper offer to all our viewers. So we have not one but 6 participants, and all of them are students. They have been part of Raising a Mathematician Foundation in Raising a Mathematician training program and other programs. and they are going to share about their journey and how they found their calling for mathematics and how they ended up in respective colleges. So that's about expert talks. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague and the moderator for today's session, R. Hariharan. Hariharan is our head of academic affairs at Raising a Mathematician Foundation, and he is doing his PhD in management accounting from Michigan State University. He this is towards his last phases of his PhD, and he has been the guiding light for Raising a Mathematician Foundation. He's a chartered accountant by qualification. He is also a CMA, and he got his CMA degree in 2017, if I'm correct, and he was the world rank 1 when he finished his CMA. He also has a lot of credit to his degrees and achievements. I'll just list a few. He is currently a Deloitte Foundation doctoral fellow, and Deloitte Foundation gives 10 fellowships every year, and he was one of them. So that's a prestigious fellowship he got in 2019. In 2019, he was also awarded the PhD Excellence Award in Research. He also got the Priscilla Payne Student Performance Award in 2017. He got a scholarship of Merrill's and Jack Gray Endowed Scholarship, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of credits to his achievement. I'll not list all of them, but what I would like to say is, he is an amazing researcher and he is a wonderful teacher. So he's one of those few researchers who can come down to the level of even a primary school kid and who can interact with them. And he has got his very expert area of blending math with a lot of other domains. So that's Hariharan for you. Now I would request Hariharan to introduce our panelists and tell all the audience how is today's session going to be, and take it ahead from there. Over to you, Hariharan.
Thank you, Vinay sir, for that wonderful introduction. I'm really humbled, and I would welcome you all to this series of expert talks. This month we are really excited because we have 6 experts, as Vinay sir mentioned, and they will talk about something that is very important, because we felt that a lot of students and parents tend to take their college decisions, but those decisions are not necessarily always well informed, and lot of times we see that there is a herd mentality to the colleges that students select, and we thought that it will be a useful session not only for the students but also for the parents, because at the end of the day, parents are one of the most important individuals who are taking decisions for their kids. So we have titled this talk as Your College Journey, Academics and Beyond, and I am your moderator for today's session. So let me welcome the panelists and introduce them one by one, and then they can take it up from there by introducing themselves and tell us more about their journey. So we have our first panelist, Saloni Singh. She was a participant of Raising a Mathematician training program in 2016. She is currently pursuing her second year undergraduate program at IIT Dharwad in computer science and engineering. So she is interested in competitive programming, machine learning, blockchain, cybersecurity. So at the cutting edge part of computer science. She was a finalist at Hexagon 2020, and she was a second runner-up in Codeathon 2.0. And if you think that IITians don't know how to have fun and they are only book geeks, it's not the case. She likes to play keyboard and also plays badminton for her campus team. So welcome, Saloni Singh, and we are looking forward to hearing you speak. Our second panelist is Raghavendra Bhatt. he was a participant of the first Raising a Mathematician training program, which was conducted in 2014. And he also was a participant in 2019. Currently, he is doing his undergraduate studies in math and computer science at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. It's one of the topmost universities in the world, and he specializes in analytical and computation number theory. He has been a number theory buff since he was I think fifth, sixth grade. So he was very passionate about numbers since his childhood days. He's still young, but it's just that he has been working on numbers for so long that it seems that he has it's lot many years. Uh, he has been a speaker at TEDx, IIT Madras, NITK when he was in 7th or 8th grade. So that tells you how talented he is. And he has also written a book on math called as Math, a Subtle Language of the Universe. It's a beautifully written book, and it tries to cater to the general audience. So it's not a special book or a book that is only for mathematicians. And apart from that, he's an excellent tabla player. So he also has this knack of mixing music with math. So if you are keen, after the talk, you can go to some of his videos that are available on YouTube where he speaks on music and math. So welcome, Raghavendra, and we are looking forward to hearing from you as well. Our third panelist is Samarth Jain. He was a participant of Raising a Mathematician training program 2016, which was the third batch. And he's a second year undergraduate student of computer science and psychology. And he's interested in human computer interaction. So it's kind of a bizarre interaction of computer science with psychology, which we never tend to imagine. He was international rank 2 in ThinkQuest and All India rank 2 in Technolothon organized by IIT Guwahati. He was also awarded the Star Correspondent Newsmaker by Times of India Student Edition in 2015. So it will be interesting to hear from him what does that mean and how he got that award. He's a theater enthusiast, so you can see when he speaks, he has a nice way of stressing on words, and his Hindi is truly impeccable. And he also likes to play squash. So welcome, Samarth, and we are looking forward to hearing from you and your journey. Our fourth panelist is Ishita Lade. She was a participant of the first Raising a Mathematician training program with Raghavendra Bhatt. And she is currently a fourth year undergraduate student of civil engineering at IIT Kharagpur. She presented a paper at International Conference for Environmental Engineering in Japan. And she has completed a research internship at SUSTEC in China in machine learning profile. So she's a civil engineer, does machine learning. So quite a wide range of things that she has done. And as I said with Saloni, if you're thinking IITians are all about studies and do not have any fun, of course, I mean, curricular and co-curricular activities can be fun for some, and that is perfectly fine. But here is one person who was former governor of Dramatic Society at IIT Kharagpur, and she has won Best Actor on Campus award. So welcome, welcome Ishita, and we are looking forward to hearing from you, your journey, and what are the various things that you're doing apart from academics in IIT. So it's wonderful to have you. Next, we have panelist 5, Vanshri Mathur. She was a participant of RAM TP 2015. She's currently the fourth year undergraduate student of computer science with specialization in data analytics. And she was a winner. She's doing her undergraduate studies at Trent University in Ontario, in Canada. And she was a winner of Students Award of Excellence in 2019, and she is on the Dean's Honors roll. So again, we can listen to Vanshri and ask her how she got into these awards and what she had to do specifically to get those awards, or how these things work. She's passionate about artificial intelligence and machine learning. And apart from that, she's also interested in culinary arts, and she's a music enthusiast. So welcome, Vanashri, and we are looking forward to hearing from you, your journey, and how it is to be in Canada, and what it is to go to a, a new country and start your journey. Then we have the last but not the least, panelist 6, Adityan Ganesh. He was a participant of RAM TP 2017, 18, 19, 20. And he's currently a second year undergraduate student of mathematics at Chennai Mathematical Institute. He is interested in theoretical computer science, and he has participated and mentored students at a program on algorithmic and combinatorial thinking at Princeton in 2017, 2018, and 2020. You can easily guess what he was doing in 2019, why he couldn't mentor the students, because he was in 12th grade at that time. So busy with all his entrance exams. And at that time, he was also applying to US universities. But he got into many prestigious universities in US. For example, he got into the University of California at Los Angeles, which is one of the top universities in the world, but decided to stay back and continue his studies at Chennai Mathematical Institute. So we have this diverse set of people who can share their views on college and what went into their decision making, etc. And he is interested in research at the intersection of computer science and economics. He is an avid chess lover. If I'm not wrong, he also has a FIDE rating, which is a rating for international chess players. He's a cricket buff. We discuss a lot on cricket, and we often go into technicalities of cricket. And he is also a mridangam player. So we are very happy and to have this set of diverse panelists, and truly it will be wonderful to listen to their journey. And over to you all. So we will go in the same sequence in which I introduced. So we will go with Saloni, Raghavendra, Samarth, Ishita, Vanshri, and Aditya. So over to you all.
Thank you, sir, for such a nice introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Saloni, sophomore at IIT Dharwad. I'm a student mentor, member of Career Development Cell, and member of Google Developer Students Club at IIT Dharwad. So my journey for IIT began just like many of you might have faced, like herd effect kind of thing. I wanted to get into the prestigious institutes of India. Then I wanted to secure a good package in top software companies like Google, Microsoft, and lead a happy life. So after my JEE results, I was faced with an option of choosing a branch which I do not like or which I'm not much interested in a higher ranked IIT, or a branch of my choice, that is computer science and engineering, in a newer IIT. Of course, it was a big dilemma because older IITs have securities associated with them, and getting into a new IIT was a kind of risk. But I chose getting into a newer IIT because computer science was something which interested me a lot. And I believe if I do something which interests me, I'll always be able to find a way out. So as soon as I got into IIT Dharwad, I did not waste a single minute. I started pestering my seniors about how to get into Google, how to get into Microsoft, what are the ways of preparing. My seniors helped me, but they always suggested to explore the various domains, and they always said that it is not good to pre-plan things and think of few things which will be going to happen 3 years later. But I didn't pay heed to them because I was too I was blinded by the glamour of those top companies. So I continued preparing for those companies, and at the end of first year, we were faced by this pandemic. So now my seniors suggested that you explore the various domains in computer science and engineering. So I began with web development, game development, etc. And that is when I realized that getting into Google or Microsoft, etc., is not everything. Engineering is not about securing a job. We were told engineering is about solving the problems of the society. And this is when I realized in practicality when one of our seniors at IIT Dharwad created an app for fake news detection, because there were many fake news being circulated about COVID. So this is something which he did under MIT's COVID challenge. So this inspired me that I can also do something which helps the society. And now I have started exploring the various things like blockchain, cyber security, etc. And also, our branch is not named computer science or computer engineering. It is computer science and engineering. So we are taught the theories of computer science, and we are told and motivated to implement them into engineering to develop solutions. Talking about the life at IIT Dharwad, of course, it's a new IIT, and Dharwad is not a very well-known city. But I'm really happy about my decision of going into IIT Dharwad because the professor-student ratio is very small. So each professor can pay individual attention to each one of us. Also, we get a lot of exposure because, like, since the strength of students is quite less, we have only 3 branches in IIT Dharwad. So, like, we get a lot more opportunities than what other students at older IITs get. Like, I was a part of the organizing team of the first technical fest of IIT Dharwad. And the kind of exposure which you get by getting into management stuff is amazing because you get to learn things, you get to interact with people. Also, at IIT Dharwad, I realized that not all IITians are nerds. Like, I also had the conception that everyone at IIT will be a nerd. I need to focus on studying after I get into IIT Dharwad. But as soon as I got into IIT Dharwad, I realized that, okay, all the toppers were kind of all rounders. Like, they did everything. They were into sports, they were into dance, they were into music. So this inspired me to develop myself also in all the different domains. And the best thing which I like about IIT Dharwad is that we will be the culture setters. We will be the people who will be setting the culture for our IIT. So we can shape it in the way which we want, a good culture. There's a lot to tell about it, but I think I'll end it here.
Okay, so Raghavendra, can you go next?
Hello, good morning, everybody, from my side, and good evening to all of you. I am very happy to be here, and I thank Raising a Mathematician for giving me this opportunity. So my journey has been a little bit of a weird journey. It's been quite unique in that sense. There have been a lot of ups and downs and a lot of turns here and there. I had never decided to come to the United States for my undergrad up until 2017, when I made a trip here to give a few talks. I was really honored to meet some wonderful mathematicians on that trip, and some conversations that I had with them made me feel that this is a country which is par excellence, and here merit is the only thing that will work. And for somebody like me who is extremely out of the box in terms of asking questions, I can be really irritating in a classroom. You can ask the professors here. For me, this was like almost a perfect set, and that's what perfect match. At that point of time, I felt that this is a country where if I finally get in, I will be able to do a lot of research. I will be able to ask a lot of questions and get a well-rounded education, which will not focus only on one topic, but on variety of topics. For example, currently in this semester, I'm doing 6 courses, real analysis, analytic number theory. So these are the 2 math courses. But in addition to that, I'm studying astronomy, global studies, Indian language and culture, health, community health, and also 2 research courses in mathematics. So it's like a well-rounded education system. So in 2017, I made up my mind. Then I went back to India, and then a lot of things happened. I don't really remember the order in which they happened, but something happened, and I was in a confusion. I had identity crisis. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what was actually good for me. I went back home, and my mindset changed the moment the trip got over. In the summer of 2019, where I was literally at the peak of confusion, not knowing what to do, I had almost tried all options in India unsuccessfully. I randomly received an email from a professor in the United States who I had met back in 2016. And he asked me to give a talk in some place. And it was just a random conversation. And it happened actually when I was at RAMTP 2019, coincidentally. That was a kind of, sometimes things happen in life where you feel this is meant to be. I kind of took it as a sign, and I had a quick conversation with my parents. and I applied to Wright State University. That is not where I am currently, but that is a decent university in Ohio. And I knew those people because I had given a talk at that university about in 2016. So I just felt at this point of time, I cannot think too much. I've already lost a year in my life and I have to make a decision really quickly. No matter what the university is, just try to get in. And in the United States, the great thing is once you get into university, you can transfer to somewhere else. You can change your university after a year, after 2 years. And I thought I will figure out everything later. The first thing is right now to start a career, to start a life, to get to a place where I can pursue my passion. They extended their application deadline for me. I had to speak about 25 times to the admission officer, to the dean, to the Indian Students Association. A lot of things had to happen in a matter of few days. Gave a few last minute entrance exams. And after being rejected my visa as well, I got it on the second attempt and I landed in the United States on the 29th of July, 2019. So that was the start of a wonderful journey. I divide my life into two parts, basically. The first part, 20 years of my life in India, and now it's been 1.5 years here. And there have been a huge contrast, to put in short. So I spent my first semester at Wright State. And in November of 2019, I remembered that my purpose of coming to the United States was not to go to Wright State, but to go to a university where I can do a lot of research. And I remembered Urbana-Champaign. I had been there in 2017. They had some wonderful number theorists. So again, I did the same thing. I had to apply last minute. I had to write a few essays. I had to speak to a lot of people. I had to present my case. So in the US, the more importance is given to your journey, your purpose of coming to the university, your statement of purpose. So I had to write an essay as to why I want to come here. Right? They have thousands of people who will apply. Why should they consider me as a different candidate? That has more importance than your grades and other things, which were okay, but I had to really make a point. Because coming from India, being an international student, I had to justify to them, why is it that I want to transfer? So I'm already at Wright State. Right? I have to convince them why I want to transfer, which was a big thing. So it kind of happened again in the last minute. And in January of 2020, I transferred to UIUC. And it's again been a third life, basically, because right now, even the first semester that I spent at Wright State seems like a lifetime ago, because there was a huge contrast here. This is a huge public university. They have a way bigger math department. I'm extremely privileged now to speak to some of the finest mathematical minds. For me, the biggest thing that I noticed right now is what I expected from the US 3 years back. And what I'm actually getting now is a lot different. And the good news is it's actually better than what I expected. Never in my dreams that I imagined that things will work out so well for me. I was somebody who found it really hard to focus on my academics towards the last few years in India. I couldn't focus. I had a lot of problems sitting in a classroom for a long time. I had attention issues. But here, my grades have improved tremendously. I am doing really well in all my courses. I'm able to concentrate. I'm able to ask questions. I'm able to explore the subject more than just the textbook and the exams. And it is somehow really making a lot of sense to me. But here's the thing. Not everybody in this discussion, not all of you, might think in the same way. Some of you might just feel that the United States is good because it's on the other side of the world. We have this concept that grass is always greener. But I request all of you to look at your personality and ask yourself which system works better for you. Are you the kind of person who wants to study on the last night before the exam and clear it? Then if that is the kind of person you are, then this is not the place for you. Because this education system demands a lot of marathon work from you every single day. Not too much, not too less, but it demands consistency. And if you're consistent, you will do well. You can never make up for one subject on the last night, unlike in India. So it works well for different sort of people, and I'm sure we'll be having more discussion on this. So yes, that has been my brief journey in mathematics. I started off as a prime number enthusiast, and now I'm doing some really complicated mathematics, which I would not have dreamed of doing 2 years back. Once again, I thank Vinay sir and Hariharan sir for giving me this opportunity, and yes, hope to talk to all of you more. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we have panelist 3, Samar Jain. Please talk about your journey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Hariharan sir and Vinay sir for such a great platform where we can share and interact with everyone. I'm in my second year currently and will be speaking from my experience of the past 4 years. So after 10th, like some of you here, I was also in the rat race or the herd mentality of getting into JEE. So I did give 2 years of my life to studying for JEE. and was constantly haunted by the fact that a telephone number like Looking Rank might decide what I do in my future. And from my experience, I feel that it's more about your computational skills. There's this analogy that most people use: if you want to understand the value of a second, ask an athlete. I would say you can ask any student preparing for a competitive exam, because a student solving a question in 18 seconds will might get into say a better IIT than a student solving the same question in 42 seconds. So it's all about the time game, and this obviously gives the rigor that is needed, but it will not instill the core skills required for the future of work. By core skills, I mean reading, critically thinking, articulating in a precise and a concise manner. I was looking for this, and after giving JE, I got a good score and a good NIT. But I was really looking for the core skills, which I didn't find in the IIT process. So then that's when I got introduced to the interdisciplinary fields of liberal arts and science at the Ashoka University, which offers almost around 200 different combinations that one can choose their courses and fields from. So this system provided a good feature of the T-shaped, T-letter shaped learning, which I believe is absolutely essential in today's day and age, where the horizontal line of the T letter represents the breadth, while the vertical line represents the depth. So here what you get is a wide variety of courses that you can take and maybe understand what each and every field is, and a depth in your understanding. So whichever course that you like the most, or whichever field that you want to pursue, you're going to do your major slash minor in it. So that is something that I really found amazing at Ashoka. And what I was sold at Ashoka was at the application stage itself, where we had to write a essay, very similar to what Raghav had mentioned. We had to write an essay on what is it that really shapes us. So what are the values, and what is the understanding? So they really wanted to know what our thought process is. They didn't care what my 11th grade marks were. They didn't care what my 12th grade marks were. So it was all based on an essay and an interview round, which really tried to analyze my thought process. I'll just give a glimpse of that. So what we had was, I had written in my essay that history and computer science is something that I really like. So they had asked me to get into the interdisciplinary part of that and maybe give them an example of how I can connect the two. So they asked me if I had done something really good about CS in the last 1 year. And I said I created a program in C, which was an auction or a bidding program. So they said, can you create an amalgamation of the two? So that really puts the thought process as the front runner apart from marks. So that is something that is very, very important, I felt, as a skill that one needs to have. Talking about after I got into Ashoka, I got into really, really interesting courses. One of them is ethics and technology, which is what I'll be sharing with you guys. So in that, it is an amalgamation of philosophy, the ethical aspect, and technology. So we had a discussion about self-driving cars, and a scenario had popped up where we had to discuss if there's a self-driving car and there has to be an accident. It's a forced accident, we cannot stop it. And there's a pregnant woman on one side and there's a small child on the other. Which one is it that the self-driving car should hit at, right? So that really got us thinking, because if we take the utilitarian approach, then it should be the child who should be part of the accident. But then the understanding is also that, what really happens to the driver? Do we take his idea into consideration? So there are a lot of interdisciplinary fields that Ashoka creates within its courses, and it really gives you the critical thinking aspect. And this is something that I will take away from each course of mine. Taking another example of a course that I had was politics of development. where we were really questioning as to if there are two different institutions or cities or states for that matter that have had a very similar background, a very similar context, but have performed very differently in some other areas. So how do we question that, or how do we come to a solution with that? So I had done this research on the Swachh Bharat Index, with Indore and Bhopal being my cities that I compared. And Indore was number one on that list, and Bhopal was 19th, although Bhopal is the larger city and it is the political capital. The population density of Bhopal is much lesser than Indore. Yet Indore was number one on the Swachh Bharat Index. So analyzing that really got me into this. So it really created and developed my thought process of how to question anything for that matter. Also, to summarize, I would say that Hindi, English, Urdu, C++, Java, Python, all of these are just languages. Especially as a CS student, I would say that the previous generation of students did COBOL and FoxPro. We are doing Java, C++, Python. So the language will change, but the critical thinking aspects will still remain the same. And each and every subject and field has a lot to teach us. If you take the example of cybersecurity, like a few of my other panelists were mentioning, so cybersecurity, you can't just achieve it via coding, right? What you also need is other fields to come into play, like philosophy, ethical aspects, and human behavior. Also, with regards to that, human-computer interaction is something that I am looking forward to. And talking about the T-shaped model, I would say that it has been practiced. It has been practiced since a long, long time now. What most or what a lot of engineers do is they do 4 years of depth searching, where they're really trying to analyze if that is their if that is something that they want to do in the that they want to pursue, or they do an MBA after which is the generalization. At Ashoka, what you do is in the 4 years, you're doing the T-shaped model with the breadth and the depth. For breadth, for example, for breadth, we have a lot of courses that introduce you to various other fields that you might not have done or thought of. I mean, it's very similar to you not having tasted a cuisine and saying that, no, I don't like it. I've never had Chinese, but I can't make the claim that I will never like Chinese. So there's a lot of things that can be done in combination. So that's the most interesting aspect of my journey, which I felt.
Excellent, Samar. That's some journey, because generally when you talk about computer science, you don't associate with areas such as psychology. So one thing that is coming across as a theme over here is everyone has some aspect of computer programming or coding that people have learned, but for different reasons. So that's the most interesting part to me, that all are motivated, or the underlying reasoning why you're doing coding or you're learning computers is completely different, and we'll come to that as well. So let's move to Ishita. Please tell us your journey.
Okay. So, hi everyone. As Sir had introduced me, I am currently a 4th year undergraduate student at IIT Kharagpur pursuing civil engineering. So, I'll straight away begin my journey. I actually was interested or motivated to get into IIT when I was, I think, in 9th or 10th grade. Though I didn't know what an IIT actually is, but because of the hype and the fests that would happen there, so all those excited me. And during my school days, I was not just into academics. I used to participate in several extracurricular activities. I represented my school in several competitions and didn't actually attend classes a lot, but I was very much interested in physics and mathematics. I studied them apart from school curriculum. So I thought all in all, IIT would be the best choice for me. So in 11th and 12th grade, I gave my 100% for the preparation. Yeah, and I would also mention that the guidance or the coaching is equally important for JEE preparation. And again, the results matter are of the final day. So I would also mention that apart from just studying, there are few other things like honesty or meditation or such qualities which helped me and are, I think, equally important in the preparation. So the preparation was done and I got a decent JE rank. Then came a crucial time of selecting college or and branches. So I didn't actually research much about the branches, which I should have. So someone had told me that about IES, which is conducted by UPSC for engineers. So that actually is allowed to be given by only core engineering students. So that is why I filled only electrical, mechanical, and civil engineering in the top IITs, and that is how I landed into civil engineering. But I think I could have got some better branches had I researched more. So that is an important point. Um, then going to campus, name a field and you will find at least one person doing an excellent job in that. So on campus, I went back to my school mode. I started exploring things, doing things that I liked. I got involved into dramatics, participated in several competitions. Yeah, as I mentioned, I was awarded the Best Actor award in inter-hall competitions. And let me tell you that students there take inter-hall competitions very seriously, like you must have seen in the movie Chichore. So that was a big thing. I also represented my college in several of these competitions. Then apart from that, I was a part of few organizations. I joined different organizations. One of them was International Relations Cell, where I got to know about the research that my seniors were doing. So I thought, okay, let's explore this field as well. So I took a project under my professor of my department in environmental engineering, and my work was selected for a presentation at an international conference in Japan, and I was the only undergraduate student presenting there. So that was the research part. Then I did a research intern at a university in Shenzhen, China. That was based on machine learning. I'll talk about it later on, as sir said. And I missed a current research internship in USA because of the pandemic. Then apart from this, mm, I am also a placement committee member, and the responsibility of the placements of the entire campus are on my shoulders. So that is it basically. As you could see, I have been exploring and I'm still exploring what I really want to settle up for. Uh, yeah. Yeah, about IIT, I would like to mention one thing, that not all IITians are doing great and not all the great people are IITians. So I know many of you would be aiming for IIT, but if you're aiming, give your 100%, but don't just lose to the results, because there are several factors that affect the result. And what you do later on is more important than the results or just getting into a college. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishita, for that wonderful message that you gave towards the end. What you mentioned about great people are not are necessarily IITians, and not all IITians are doing great. I think that's a very important message that people can take from whatever you said. If there was only one message they wanted to take, I think that's one sentence is something that should resonate, I think. Okay, so let's move on to Vanshri. Can you talk about your journey of how you moved from India to Canada and how it has been so far?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Banshri Mathur. I'm currently studying computer science in Trent University in Peterborough, Ontario. I'd also like to thank the RAM Foundation for hosting this talk, and I'd like to thank all the other panelists for joining me today. So a little backstory about me. When I was younger, I actually studied in the US. And so I was already introduced to the Western curriculum at that point. And then when we transferred back to India, I did the Cambridge curriculum. So I did the CIE until in my elementary, and then I did IGCSE curriculum for 8th to 10th, and then 10th to 12th. And so, as Raghav had mentioned, I haven't been the person to study at the last minute ever, or do something in 18 seconds and do it right away. I've always been the person that values understanding and taking my time over doing something super fast or memorizing something really fast. So in that sense, I've always identified with the international education culture a bit more. Even in high school, I was constantly volunteering. I was constantly involved with extracurricular activities. I was involved with our student council and things like that. So I liked to widen my horizon beyond just my curriculum and my studies. So it was during that time that I realized maybe I would want to study my higher studies abroad. And so I mentioned that possibility to my parents. And I already knew that I would major in computer science because talking about my focus and talking about what I would like to pursue is something that I constantly and regularly did with my parents. So that was something I was very sure of. The only thing that was a major concern for us was finances. So as many of you know, international tuition is sometimes 3 times as much as domestic tuition. And even domestic tuition can sometimes be a lot for international students. And so for me, the criteria, like the most important thing was looking for scholarships. And so I started applying very early on. The minute I entered 12th grade, I started looking for universities that would suit me. I mostly looked at US and Canada, and I applied for as much as I could. So time was crucial, and being ahead of everyone else was crucial. So then I got 2 scholarships at Trent University. And I think most of that was attributed to the fact that I applied early on. And that was something that was really important because time is crucial in these kind of things. And so I actually got around 90 to 95% of my tuition taken off. And so that was a big factor in actually making the decision to move abroad and move to Canada. And so once I arrived to Canada, it was such a welcoming and environment. Even in orientation week, just meeting everyone else, meeting the diverse group of people, seeing how they welcomed us was so refreshing. And Trent University isn't really a big university. It's not University of Toronto. It's not University of British Columbia. It's a small university. But I'm pretty happy about that because that gives professors a time to individually look at students and individually interact with students. And that's something that I valued. And I think that's something that I find at Trent University that I might not have found if I had taken my offer at UBC, because I did get into other colleges. I did get into bigger colleges, but I chose a smaller university because, again, of finances and this personal interaction that I valued. Something else that I really appreciate about higher education abroad is the concept of electives. So apart from the required courses that you need to take for your major, you are also given the opportunity to take courses that may not be directly related to your major. So I was able to take courses in math. I was able to take courses in economics. I was able to take courses in philosophy. I was able to widen my perspective and learn about different things. And maybe even, like at one point, I even considered doing a minor in econ because I had access to these courses and I had access to this knowledge and education. Even the opportunity to do a double major and do a minor are provided. And that's really important because once you arrive here, you might change your decision. You might realize, hey, I also like this. I might also want to major in this. I might want to do a double major. I want to join it together. And so that's something I found here that I really value and appreciate. There have also been a lot of internship opportunities in Trent University, like in terms of courses that I've been a part of and that I've truly enjoyed. I was also a TA once, so that's called a teaching assistant. It's where an upper year student basically helps the students in the program, in the course, if you've already taken it before. And that was something that was really educational and it was nice to do. I've also been really involved in student groups on campus. So when I arrived there, I joined the South Asian Association at Trent. And so it was really nice to be a part of a community, even outside of just students that are studying your major. just being involved in these activities made me feel closer to the South Asian community that was there, and it made me feel less alone, if that's, I can say that. So that's something that I really have enjoyed at my time at Trent University. And so that was my experience. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask me later. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanshri. So one common theme that I see across the panelists so far is that they have been in universities or places where there are multiple courses that are offered, there are multiple majors that are happening. And now we come to our sixth panelist, who is doing his undergrad at Chennai Mathematical Institute, which is much more focused school. So it will be interesting to hear Adityan's perspective of or his journey at.
Thank you very much, Hariharan sir, Vinay sir, and Raising a Mathematician Foundation to give me such a nice opportunity to talk in this discussion. So I'm interested in the intersection of computer science and economics. And when I say computer science, I have nothing to do with coding. So I look at computer science from a mathematician's viewpoint, and it's entirely different from how computer engineers look at computer science. So I'll talk about it in 2 minutes. So, around my 8th grade, I was aspiring to be a physicist, because that is when you get loaded with ideas of velocity, planets and all those things. And around the same time, that was when I started doing Olympiad math. So I thought, I'll do Olympiad style math in my school and then transition to become, into a physicist and then do physics all my life. And around this time was when I got associated with Raising a Mathematician Foundation. I attended a couple of Vinay Sir's camp and Raising a Mathematician training program. And this brought me closer to Olympiad style math. I thought it was more like test cricket, where qualities like resilience and, being in the pitch without giving up and not throwing your wicket and all those traits would be rewarded. And that's the same here. Like you are expected to work for hours together on a single problem without giving up. And I thought this would help me in the long run, because while doing research, I don't even know if the problem which I'm working on is something of my standard. So while going to sleep that night, I need to ask the question, is working on this problem for the next year going to be worth my time? Because I might not even end up solving this problem. And I can't really survive if I don't if I'm a person who gives up easily. And around this time, I got to know about a lecture series called Science of the Mathematical Sciences, a very strong place for mathematical sciences. So they talk about cutting edge research in a language which can be understood by all. And the lecture which moved me a lot was one by Professor Meena Mahajan on theoretical computer science. It was on a problem called P versus NP. It is one of the 7 millennial problems which you solve, you get $1 million, you are set for life. And the interesting part of that was, by the end of the talk, I knew that theoretical computer science is going to be, an area which I'm going to have a lot of fun working on. And I decided, okay, physics might not be the path to go forward, and I might as well start working on theoretical computer science. And 2 years later, I started working on economics with Hariharan sir at Raising Mathematician training programs. And when I was in my 10th grade, when I did economics at school, food security, it was an overload. I was pretty sure I would be doing very badly in social science if I had continued it. But when I started under his guidance, now I started enjoying economics a lot. I took a couple of courses in game theory, and I realized that was also a very nice place to look into. And finally, I figured out an area which computer science and economics, where I study strategic behavior. So I study auctions. I study areas where people would want to outdo each other, and they try to figure out what is the best way forward. And this is where I try to prove why something is the best way forward, and that is where the mathematician's viewpoint differs from an economist's viewpoint. And the risk of doing all this is there are not a lot of places in India which offers courses like these. Maybe there are a couple of IITs and there is CMI, but there are not a lot of places in India. But so when it was going forward like this, so now I decided I'll actually focus on Olympiad style math, and I'll try to get into CMI, because CMI is one place which gives a good theoretical computer science course. But my INMOs did not go really well. I found more ways of flopping in INMOs and other competitive exams than Australian batsmen try to get out to spin. And failing in all these exams made me realize that a formal structure is not something which I would flourish under. And at Racing and Mathematician training programs, I really enjoyed the class of 10, 12, or 15 people where I can go and bug any faculty I want as much as I can. So this kind of an informal environment made me flourish a lot. So this kind of helped me when I had to decide which college to choose from. So when I had to choose from a couple of college universities in the US, maybe a couple from Canada and CMI, and I decided CMI is going to be a better bet for me because CMI has a very informal environment, and I thought I would do really well at CMI. And talking about CMI, as I told, it's very informal. You can go and knock on anybody's door anytime to talk about anything which you want. You can go and ask any prof to help you out, help you about anything. And the nice thing is, the entire environment is kind of closed. So every prof gets an attach on his or her students, because there are not a lot of people working in his or her area. And when you see a couple of students working on it, you automatically tend to get attached. And some nice stories. So I was sitting at a common place. A prof passed by and he just inquired how I was doing, and he offered me to knock on his door whenever I need any help from him. So we have such a close environment where everyone cares for a different person. And the nice thing is, the entire vision of CMI, it was envisioned by a star mathematician himself, and he knows what exactly would make a mathematician happy. So the entire university is designed in such a manner that if you are someone who wants to do research, you have absolutely no barricades, and transitioning into from the learning student into a researcher is absolutely seamless. So there are a couple, CMI is a very small place, but even in such a small place, every left and every right you take, you can see a board hanging there and a lot of chalk pieces there, so that you can start discussing about anything that you want to any person at CMI. So yeah, so I would want to conclude by saying, okay, so if you're looking to go to some place, do a lot of research about it. There are a lot of tools and a lot of resources that you have at hand to do research. So suppose you want to do computer science, you can do it, you can look at it from multiple angles, from the viewpoint of a mathematician and from the viewpoint of an engineer, and both are entirely different. So try exploring a lot of possibilities. You look at economics, what economists look at it and how computer theorists look at it are entirely different. So try exploring as much as you can before you get into a college. And if you try to figure out which is your area of interest, this entire process is around you, so try to keep it centered around you, and don't try to don't let brand names carry you away. Thank you very much.
That's an excellent point that you make, that do a lot of research before deciding what place is good. And I really like the fact that you mentioned how your decisions were shaped by the courses that you were doing, and you explored a lot of things before settling to a place like CMI. I think there is another practical aspect to it. I remember talking to Adityan, and when he was in a dilemma deciding whether to go to UCLA versus doing it in doing his undergrad at CMI. And I remember telling him, because I've been in US for the past 4 years now, I know the cost of living at different places, and Los Angeles is one of the costliest place to live in the United States. I told him, what you can do is you take an admission in CMI and decide the most posh location in Chennai, and you can buy a 3-bedroom flat with the fees that you would have paid for UCLA. And it's not that you're compromising on getting a less well-known institute. You're going to one of the premier institutes in the country and in the world. CMI is well recognized across the world. So on a lighter note, that's what I told him when he was in a dilemma. Okay, so we have a lot of questions, and some of them have been answered through chat. So that's a good idea by the panelists. And also some answers were answered, some questions were answered live by the panelists as well. So let's take the questions as they have come in the order in which they appeared. So Jyotsna Ranadiji have asked, what are the pros and cons of studying in India versus abroad at the undergraduate level for pure math, science, and engineering? Now, this is a very tricky question, because what are the pros and cons of studying in India versus abroad? The problem is we don't have the same person who has studied undergrad in India and in abroad. So for that person to differentiate will be a difficult task, because we have people who have done their undergrad, are doing their undergrad in abroad and doing their undergrad in India. So I think it will be a tough question to answer, in the sense that they do not have the perspectives at both places. So maybe either Raghavendra or Vanshri can talk about pros of studying abroad, and what are the limitations or the cons of studying abroad, and then we can take it from there. And I think we will run over time, so people who have who can continue being part of this can continue, and rest can we are done as far as the session is concerned, but we will be happy to answer all the questions. Raghavendra, yes.
Hello. Yes. So I did study in an Indian undergraduate college for about 5 months. That was in 2018 in Karnataka. That's my hometown. So I do know a little bit. Maybe I can draw some parallels, because I did a few courses that had some overlap. Now I'm doing a course in real analysis here at Urbana-Champaign, and I vaguely remember my teacher in India briefly teaching a little bit about that. And the biggest difference here is, I don't wish to, show some negative aspect of India or anything. I just want to say my experience. The biggest difference I felt was here, when a professor teaches you a subject, especially the professor that I have currently, he kind of weaves the subject around you and makes you kind of float in that ambience, and then you kind of grab it and you kind of understand it, rather than force feeding it to you for the purpose of an examination or with the goal of completing the syllabus in a month or 2 months. The goal is to do as little as possible in the best possible way. It's more like a experience rather than a torture. I never felt difficulty for any exam or any homework, because there was so much being taught in the classroom, and it was so crystal clear and perfect that there was no confusion. Unlike in India, where I faced a situation where the teacher said, you are expected to know this before you showed up, or this will be taught next semester, or you can go and read it at your free time, and the exam will be something like this, or the homework will be something. That's the biggest difference that I felt. The goal is on learning. The goal is more on the knowledge rather than passing an exam, or trying to get into another university or a job. Or there is no rat race being focused on. It's just the main focus, and that's the crux of the class. Yeah.
Okay, so either that was Raghavendra's perspective on his journey. So I think either Ishita or Saloni. I think Ishita, can you tell us more about what is your perspective on this?
Okay, so what Raghavendra said might be true, and I'm not aware of what's happening there. And the education here is similar to, as an undergraduate level, it's similar to what we've been experiencing till standard 12th. So there are a few professors who are trying to make the subjects interesting, but of course there is a deadline of completing the subject, and all those parts of it. Yeah, apart from this learning aspect, I think there are more securities that one should consider while choosing a university or the country more specifically. One is, of course, the financial one. If you're going to a foreign university in some not so department and you're not getting a job, so there is a chance of falling in that vicious cycle. So get doing an undergraduate here can act as a platform where you can explore more, and if you're still interested in higher studies, so then you can choose to foreign university. And if you're not sure, I think and undergraduate in India would be better. So that is my perspective.
Okay, thank you, Ishita. And I think one important question so I'm changing the sequence in which the questions came, is a very important question. I think that's why, since you all are doing some aspect of computer science, and some of you are involved in coding, in today's scenario wherein coding is in Zoom at school age, do you think computer engineering can be a better choice for someone. So a student has asked whether computer engineering can be a better choice. So who wants to elaborate on that question? Because coding is in Zoom, is computer engineering a better choice? That's
Oh.
how I see the question.
Okay, I would like to start answering to this. So, though computer science is very essential in today's world, I don't think that taking a subject entirely focused on that for 4 years for your undergraduate is necessary. Because as I told that I'm studying civil engineering, but of course there are things that will require coding, and coding is essential. There is a subject compulsorily in IITs based on coding. So you have some basic knowledge. The only thing you need is application. So so the application part can be done by you, and if you have a diverse knowledge of some other fields, that will add on to it. So it basically depends on if you want to do just coding throughout your life, or you want to do some other if you want to go into some other field like analyst, wherein coding is necessary, and that should act as a tool and not the basic drive.
So can
Thank
I
you.
take this question?
Yeah.
So adding on to this, from my experience, I would say that when I got into Ashoka, I had no idea of what psychology entailed, and if I actually want to get into that, all I had a perspective of computer science was through coding in 11th and 12th. That's all I had a perspective of computer science in. So you don't necessarily have to get into computer engineering if you like coding or if that's what's interesting to you. I mean, there are a lot of other fields that you might want to get into. HCI has a lot of coding, cybersecurity has a lot of coding, but it does not necessarily have to be only coding. So please explore as much as possible before you take up any decision whatsoever it may be.
Thank you, Samarth. So I think this question will be better answered maybe by Adityan, who has given or given some entrance exams in India and also applied to foreign universities. Please share about what kind of talks are expected or engaged from a school student studying in 9th or 10th grade to IITs and other foreign universities. Also, how do we get to know about such opportunities?
Yeah, so okay, so it depends on what exactly you want to do. So when I was in my 11th and 12th grade, yeah, I did go to a JE coaching class, but I didn't have a big ambition towards IITs. But otherwise, yeah, so I just went to a you know a place which helps people to apply to US universities and all for my US university application. But at the end of everything, right, the college which you get into should not be your journey. Like, it should be a byproduct of whatever journey you're trying to pursue, meaning you do what you love the most. So you love math, you do math the most. You love physics, you do physics the most. And whichever place you get into should be an end result of everything that you have done till now. And particularly if you're looking at places in the US, right? So you do amazing stuff when you're in school. You will get into many good places in US universities. And you don't do amazing stuff in school, that chance is not so great that you'll get in and get into a great university. So think about universities as a byproduct of whatever things you love in your school days. And yeah, try to build up on your strengths as much as you can, and other things will follow.
And I would like to add one thing. So being in India, what we feel is that we want to target the most prestigious universities in the world. So we only think about the Ivy League schools, the MITs and the Harvards and the Stanfords and the UCLAs. But there are so many universities that are really, really good universities. So the good thing about the US universities or Canadian universities is that there is not a large gap between the top and the next set of universities. Unlike, unfortunately, in India, there is this huge gap that comes up when you move out of IITs and NITs and then you go to the state universities. There is unfortunately a big gap in the type of experience that you have, but that's not the case in US. And because we are in India and we don't have that much information about US, we tend to target the brand names, so to say. But so I will highly encourage you all to do a little bit of more research, get into knowing the departments and faculties, and then take a very informed decision. It's a very painful process if you are applying to universities abroad. And it takes a lot of time. Just I wanted to caution you on that. And one of the attendees' father, who counsels students for students going abroad, has recommended an app called as Yocket app, YOCKET, for those who want to go to abroad for higher studies. So you may want to explore that app. Yeah, so that's helpful. And then we have a question. Suppose a person is confused on which to join, Indian universities like IIT, NIT, or foreign universities. Then how can the person choose between them? It is really hard to do JEE and other foreign exams together. That's why which one is better to focus on? I think this has been answered live, I think the answer that, according to me, that came out from the panelist is that try to understand what you want to do, explore more courses, try to do some Google search and find out what exactly do you want. And I think if you're really focused, you really know someone like Raghavendra. I think Raghavendra, for him, it is best to be in US universities, because he knows exactly that he wants to be a number theorist, and that's what he wants to do. So he can select the universities according to his interest. If you're not clear, I think then it becomes a difficult choice, and then you will have to explore, like Adityan did. Adityan tried to do courses in different domains before deciding that this is what I am interested in. What all exams am I supposed to give so as to secure admission in MIT Manipal? I think, Tanmay, you can do a Google search. So we will let it not get answered here. You can do a Google search to find out what exactly you need to do. What should be the mindset of preparing for JEE mains and competitive exams, and how should we shift our focus on those exams? I think this is a very useful question, because a lot of students will have this question. Ishita and Saloni, if you may answer, because I think since you are in IITs, let's take your perspective on that.
Okay, so I'll start. So I think one of the important factors is the motivation. I was really motivated to get into IIT since my 9th or 10th grade, and that constant motivation is very essential. Secondly, as I had mentioned in my introduction, the coaching or the guidance is equally important, because the course is vast. The syllabus, you don't know how to start, how to go about it, and guidance is necessary. And thirdly, as I had mentioned earlier again, that a few other qualities apart from just studies are equally important. I know a friend of mine who was very intelligent but was never really serious about it. And finally, her rank was not what we had expected. So there has to be a balance between normal studies as well as some other qualities. Uh, yeah, I think this is it. If anything more specifically you want to ask, you can mention it again. I think broadly this is it.
Saloni, you want to add something or share your journey or perspective on that?
Sir, my opinion is also same as Ishita Didi, and actually the core values which she was talking about were instilled in us partly by our coaching institute as well. Both of us were in the same coaching institute. So like I also believe that persistence is important and not giving up is important, because preparing for JEE can be really tedious, and like you'll be faced with many ups and downs, but you need to keep going on.
So Ishita and Saloni, you're probably from the same school, right? So that also helps in guidance. Okay. So Adityan, there is a specific question for you. I would request you to answer that question by typing the answer, and make sure that whatever you type is visible to everyone. So Apurva has asked a question to Adityan. As a chess enthusiast myself, I'm wondering what your FIDE rating is, and how much did it help to get into UCLA? What is the minimum rating to stand out? So maybe you can answer it by typing. So Sri Datta is asking, I like electronic engineering and computer science. Are there any courses for this? And sorry, I missed one question. This is specific to Ishita. How did you get a research intern? So Tejasvi has asked this question. So can you type the answer to Tejasvi directly in that Q&A? But make sure that it is visible to everyone. So who would like to take this question? Like electronic engineering and computer science, are there any courses for this? Because we don't have anyone who is doing electronic engineering here. But if someone has any information on that. Ishita, do you have?
So I'm sorry, I missed the question. Can you please
I
repeat?
like, so Sri Datta is asking, I like electronic engineering and computer science. Are there any courses for this?
Yes, yes. In IIT Kharagpur, actually, you will find there are 19 departments. The biggest IIT, the vast departments. One of them is electronics and communication engineering, and there is a separate department of electrical engineering as well.
Okay. Sonalji is asking, my son is in 10th and we are so confused about his liking. Welcome to the club. It's always, you will always be confused. I think many of us are still confused about what we exactly want to do. We are unable to guess as well as he is also not sure what he wants to do. Any guideline for that? Sonalji, I think we will need much more information. We can talk offline, I guess. That will be much easier. So feel free to email us and we can set time to understand more what exactly is your son doing, and so much more information will be appreciated and we can answer or help to the best of our ability. uh, Most of the panelists so far mentioned the skills essential to get into a good college. Could you please inform us on how to develop and demonstrate these skills? Oh, that's a very interesting question, very, very important question. So you mentioned the skills that are required and you all have those skills. How to develop and demonstrate these skills? Who wants to take that question? Maybe Samarth.
Sure, sir. So, as long as it depends, so it completely depends on what colleges you want to get into for the skills essential to get into that college. I mean, like I said, you might want, if you want to get into IIT or say NITs, then it's more about computational. But if it's some other university like Ashoka itself, then the skill set is quite different. Here, you're supposed to express your thought, bring out your thought process, which is the first key step. So all you need to do is maybe start building by writing things down. So that will make your thought process much more crisp and clear with regards to how you want to portray anything. And also the application process itself helps you understand the skills that you need. So I would say that keep an eye out on what the application is asking you to do. That will help. That will really help you understand the skill set that is required. So that's what I think is my understanding from my experience.
Raghavendra, do you want to add something? How do you develop those skills? Because you are someone that I know has is very talented, and since a very young age, the first time I met you was probably in 2013 or even 2012, if I remember, and you came across as someone who is super talented. How do you develop those skills?
I don't know about all of that, but I wish to point about one thing. The biggest difference that maybe the things that US universities look for is confidence. So I think what they require you to be about yourself is you have to have a lot of belief in yourself, and that should reflect in whatever essays you write, or if there is some interview. These days, people do Zoom interviews and stuff like that. They expect you to be confident about yourself. You should believe that you can achieve the impossible. That is the single common ingredient that all the world beaters have had. That's the single thing that all successful people share, that they believe that they can change the world. And most students, because of the rat race and because of what maybe their teachers tell them or friends or parents, feel that they cannot do something, or they feel that there is a limitation to excellence. if you can convince yourself that there is no difference between you and the most successful person on earth, because both of you have the same amount of time, have almost the same biology and whatever atomic composition, and you are all born in the same way, then you can achieve anything. For me, when I was about 13 years old, the one difference that I had, I feel, as compared to, I look at a student at age 13 now, is that I was not scared of facing people. And that I was able to do that because I got a lot of opportunities to speak in my hometown, in some clubs and some associations here and there. And I told myself that when you talk to an audience of 100 people, it should not be different from how you talk to one person, because 100 is just a combination of many people. And if you can talk to each of them individually, there is no reason why you cannot talk to all of them at the same time. So stage fear, I feel, is one of the things that you can get rid of, that has a huge implication on your personality. That is the kind of thing that reflects when you meet a new person, you talk to somebody at an event, or you want to write an email to somebody. You have to come across as somebody who is believing in oneself. Even in my worst days, I asked myself whether I believe I can come out of it, and I always felt yes. And I feel that's one of the things that all of us should do. We should believe in ourselves no matter what. I think everything else gets is connected to that one simple aspect of believing that we can do anything.
Sorry,
Okay.
just to add to what Raghav said.
Yes.
So when we look at skill sets, so unfortunately what many people focus on is the skill sets required to get into a good college. And when they get into a college, they realize, okay, I don't have any more skills to proceed from here. So everyone is on a ground zero. So maybe like people can focus on a mix of skills that would get them into a good college, and also skill sets that would take them forward once they get into a good college, like good speaking skills. So if you have good speaking skills, you get into a college, you don't find it very hard to go and knock on a prof's door and ask for help and say, okay, I'm interested in it, can you help me out? And if you want to become a mathematician, for example, like writing proofs is absolutely essential. And if you don't have that skill, like whatever you write, people might not even want to read whatever you write in the first place, let alone read and then appreciate you for any work that you've done. So maybe like giving good importance on skill sets that might get into a good college is also important, but focusing on what would take us further after we get into a college is also absolutely important.
Great. So there's one question that I will take it, and that is, how did Raghavendra deliver lectures or deliver talks at US institutes and IITs when he was in 7th or 8th grade or later? What he wanted to know was how someone like him got invited. I'll tell you how. You need some unique skills like Raghavendra has. He can combine math with math with music, and he is a very, very, very good tabla player. So he can entertain the audience and talk about mathematics, and that's a very rare skill. Entertaining people with mathematics is really a rare skill. So that's the reason why he got invited. And he has really novel ideas with respect to number theory. So some of his ideas are really, really interesting for the people who are really interested in number theory research. And that's the reason why he has some of the conjectures which he wanted to discuss, and the professors found it interesting, and that's how he got opportunity. So I think I would say that if you have some unique skill set that you have on offer, which not many people have, I think you will be noticed and you will get opportunities to showcase your talent that way. And we have a lot of questions related to IIT preparation. So anyone who, each one of you has at some level prepared for IITs. I mean, most of you, not each one, I would say. So do you need a mentor for JEE preparation apart from coaching? How do you manage the schedule for preparation? And how do you focus on, your hobbies at that time? So related to stress management. So maybe Ishita, Saloni, and also Samarth can talk about it because you have gone through the process. Just quick tips on these things.
Okay, so the preparation, as I told, is also important based on what institute the coaching institute you're joining. And as far as my preparation was concerned, we used to get a proper schedule, which we were advised to follow. Not necessarily we should follow, but following a defined schedule is very necessary, which I think is provided by the institutes usually. And yeah, hobbies I had cut. I had many hobbies, but I didn't do most of them. For mental stress relief, yeah, there were meditation sessions happening in my coaching itself, so that helped me. I don't think any personal mentor is required apart from the normal coaching. That adds on to two different things, and it does not work out well, I think.
Adding to what Ishita just mentioned, in my coaching, I did have a mentor who was also my faculty. So that really helped with gauging my performance throughout the years. But yes, definitely there's a schedule and not many follow it. In 11th, I also didn't follow the schedule. But in 12th, I did, and it does help. So the schedule is provided generally by the coaching institute. And for as a stress buster, I used to write them down and perform mono acts. So that's what got me interested in theater. Also, I used to do it even before 10th, but during the last 2 years, when I did this, it felt really good, and it helped me reduce the stress that was building on.
Okay, so how do I train my brain to understand complex stuff? I think rigor. You just keep doing a lot of these courses, gauge your level, and slowly and gradually you move up. So there is no, something like a Maggie noodles where you can get understand complex stuff in 2 minutes. It's a gradual process. So keep doing courses. Uh, Try to explore more and more things in the areas that you are interested in, and also the areas that are related to your field but do not directly come up. Yeah, so some questions I can answer here. Yes, you will not face any problem if you are a strict vegetarian at abroad universities. Don't worry, I am also a vegetarian and I have survived for 4 years, so you will be fine. There are a lot of options these days. The people are also turning vegan, so don't worry about that. I am an ECE student. What are the extra courses I can do to equip myself? If someone has any perspective on that. And I think maybe you can type that answer to Tejasvi. Maybe Ishita can have some perspective on ECE student. What extra courses can they do? Or Saloni can answer that as well. Maybe this couple of questions quickly, and then we will wrap up our session. Maybe this can be answered by Vanshri and Saloni. Does math courses at, no, this is specifically to Chennai Mathematical Institute, sorry. Does math courses at Chennai Mathematical Institute cover data analytics, artificial intelligence also? The short answer is yes. On behalf of Adityan, I will answer that for the shortage of time. Yes, there are courses. It's a very strong computer science department, and people get placed at good companies who are interested in computer science, artificial intelligence. I think this question is wrongly directed to Raghav. It should be directed to Adityan. What are the major differences between computer science from a mathematician's perspective and from an engineer's perspective? Also, you elaborate the difference between computer science and computer engineering. So maybe Adityan, can you give a small example of the computer science, like from a mathematician's perspective and engineer's perspective, quickly?
Yeah, so from an engineer's perspective, you have an application in mind, and maybe you just want to build something, you want to code something in order to get whatever you want to do in an applied sense. But how a mathematician looks at computer science is essentially what every mathematician does. So he has a problem in his head, and he wants to really, find out a way to solve that problem first, and then he, proves why his solution is correct. And yeah, it's more like what a mathematician does. He uses more lots of mathematical tools and goes forward.
Uh, Great. Saloni, you can answer this. Can you elaborate the difference between computer science and computer engineering? Because you mentioned that your course is computer science and engineering. So there is some difference between the two, if you may quickly.
So basically, it's like we are taught both theoretical subjects like automata theory, game theory, etc. And what I think is computer science is more of exploring, researching, theory based, and engineering is more about implementing and building out stuff or implementing things in the daily life to solve the problems. It's engineering is more of application of the science which we have learned.
Great. Vanshri, you want to add something because you are doing data analytics at Trent University.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Saloni said. It's kind of like the difference between data analytics and data science and data engineering. I think.
What exactly is the difference?
So data analytics, I think, is more, at least in our university, it's more math-based and concept-based. And then data science and data engineering is like applying it and using machine learning and algorithms in that sense. Or that's what I think.
Okay. Should I take computer science for my undergraduation if I'm not finding it interesting in 11th and 12th? So I will quickly answer that. Computer science is such a vast field. You might have observed from what people are speaking. They're doing computer science in some senses, but you don't need to take computer science really if you really don't find it interesting. But there are different areas, so it may be the case that you don't find a particular aspect of computer engineering interesting. So please make sure that that is not the case, because I also am doing some aspect of data science because I'm dealing with data, but that doesn't mean that I am a computer scientist or a computer engineer for that matter.
Sir, sorry, yeah. You can.
Yeah, Raghav, please.
I just wanted to add to that last point that you made. There are a lot of subjects which we might feel that we don't like until we actually take a course on it. So I was under the impression that discrete mathematics is something which I'll never like. Then I took a full semester course, and it is probably the favorite topic of mine after number theory. So we have some stigma about a few topics because we have not actually explored them and we have not actually maybe taken a rigorous course. So I urge all of you not to have preconceived notions about a subject when you are less than, let's say, 45 years old, maybe. I don't know.
Great. Which syllabus is best for JEE preparation? I don't think there is any best syllabus. We see state syllabus students also doing well, CBSE, ICSE, it doesn't matter. It all depends on the candidates and how much effort they are ready to put in. Is there ragging in abroad universities? No, there is no ragging in abroad universities. There is a strict action that is taken, and I'm pretty sure that ragging doesn't happen in Indian universities as well. People have become much more matured in that sense, and we have evolved, and we have gone beyond ragging and stuff. Maybe if you have a different perspective, please feel free to add, but that's what I think is happening, at least in today's world. Which are the courses in maths other than number theory, discrete math? Oh my God, there are so many courses, I think you can just explore Coursera, you can explore Udemy, you can explore EDX, MIT OpenCourseWare, and you can see what different courses that you can take up. So Subhaji is asking, could you please explain how the Indian school teachers to support the Indian children from their primary level? Being a mathematics teacher, I want to support the students in the small age. I think this question is specific to this topic that we are discussing, so I will answer in that perspective here. I think at a primary level, it is too early for the student to decide on what the kid wants to do. I think let the kid explore, and maybe at a high school is where I think we can start talking about what the kid wants to do. Maybe at the 9th standard, that may be also a little early, but unfortunately we have to start thinking about those things around that time, especially if you are thinking of some course which is not a standard path to take. Then you will have to start discussing that around 9th or 10th. Can a student crack JEE without external coaching? Definitely you can crack without external coaching, but it depends on your personality, because if you are really not a person who is committed or wants someone to monitor them, I think coaching classes do a very good job at that. Uh, how does a student in abroad successfully carry out research work on his or her subjects? So I think it's not specifically to doing abroad or in India, because Ishita also has research papers which she has presented. Vanshri also is working on different projects. Samarth is doing some research related work. Adityan is, so it's not specific to abroad or India. It's just that you need the right faculty who is interested in doing research. And in India there are universities which are more teaching focused, and there are universities which are more research focused, which is not the case in many of the US universities, where there are many more research focused universities. So it's just to find a right faculty who is ready to mentor you, and you can get a lot of opportunities to do research. Yeah. Okay, I think we are running out of time. We have already exceeded time, and that's because you have asked a lot of wonderful questions. And we will stop here, and over to you, Vinay sir.
Thank you so much, Hariharan sir. In fact, it was very hard for me to be quiet for 1.5 hours, and listening to all this lively conversation, and I was tempted to, get in, but so yeah. So let me just take a couple of minutes, to say about something before I proceed to the vote of thanks, and this, I think, in the interest of everybody. So how this entire idea of getting all the panelists into this discussion came up was, with Samarth. We both were having a chat after a long time, and then he was saying how amazing his university is, and on and off with each one of them, or at least many of these guys, we keep interacting, and somewhere we felt that this might be a very good opportunity for students, like students, parents, and teachers who have attended this particular session, to interact with students like this. So we really hope that this is just one of the sessions that have happened with you, and the way in which I see it from a third person perspective is, I feel that had I got an opportunity to interact with so many amazing people, like all the six of them, then I might have been in a different place, in a different college. I would have got an opportunity to do some more amazing things. So I think it is very important that we keep talking to students who are pursuing all these areas of interest that we like, so that we are in a better position to choose, and not get influenced by people, or generally who are relatives and other people who keep advising. So on that note, let me just take this chance to thank each one of the panelists who have joined in, and all of them were extremely busy with a lot of stuff on their hand, and it's we started off at quite early hours for Vanshri and Raghav, but the moment we told them about this thing, they were quite interested, and they were all excited, at least as much as we are. So my sincere thanks to you, Vanshri and Raghav, for accepting the invitation. Adityan and Samarth, they were also quite excited when I spoke with them, and I think they brought very different flavors to the discussion. Adityan, when he brought in the theoretical aspects of computer science, and how computer science without coding looks like, and Samarth with his different experience in Ashoka, and of course Saloni and Ishita, you guys, I'm sure you brought in a lot of inspiring things about the IITs, and you guys delivered some really takeaway messages in your sessions, and I mean in your speech. In fact, one of the things that I felt, especially from Saloni's part, is that even if we opt in for a lower ranked IIT, there is a great chance that we get noticed. So if we don't get into the best IITs or the best institutes, still we don't have to label ourselves as failures. And this is something that many professors at many other reputed institutes other than IITs have often said, that students come into the college, by labeling themselves as failures because they did not get into the top three institutes in India, or even for that matter abroad. So there is a better chance of you getting recognized if you are in a slightly lower ranked university also. I think those messages came very clearly from Saloni. And Ishita, of course, with your inspiring thing about taking civil engineering and breaking that notion that civil is meant for boys, is something that we often hear. So thank you all of you, and my special thanks to Hariharan sir for moderating this. And we couldn't have thought of somebody better than you for this thing. He had a very, very hectic week this week, and I hope that this was an enjoyable experience for you too, and like a sweet dish towards the end of the week. So thank you, and my sincere thanks to all the attendees who stayed throughout this 1 hour 40-minute session. And this has been our longest expert talk, but we hope that we have been able to answer to your queries. And we would urge you all to spread the word about expert talks and raising a mathematician to all your friends, and help more and more students get connected to mathematics and find their calling within mathematics and outside mathematics. So on that, we'll close here. But last